Welcome to the Founder Podcast, where we explore the journeys of some of the most successful and inspiring entrepreneurs from around the world. I'm your host, Chris Lee, a serial entrepreneur with a passion for building and growing businesses. Throughout my career, I founded multiple nine-figure businesses and learned a thing or two about what it takes to succeed in the world of business. I want to share those lessons with you by searching out the coolest guests on planet Earth and have them share their own incredible stories. But this podcast, it's not just for entrepreneurs. It's for anyone that's looking to be inspired by these stories of people who have overcome incredible odds and create something truly remarkable. So join me on this journey as we explore the fascinating world of entrepreneurship and meet the founders that are shaping it today. Let's dive in. Oh, baby, welcome to another episode of the Founders Podcast. Today, I am joined by Mr. Bobby Castro. Bobby is a remarkable entrepreneur founder. He founded a company called Bankers Healthcare Group. Am I saying that correct?
Bankers Healthcare Group.
There we go. Nice. BHG in 2001. And later, it was 18 years later, exited for over $1 billion valuation. The guy is currently building a family office, which he is highly invested in real estate. He is a newly published author. He's going to be telling us a little bit about his book today. The guy is just an amazing guest. We're super excited. Welcome to the show, Bobby.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That was very nice of you.
Yeah, it's good to have you here, dude. So tell me, obviously, building $1 billion business. My business. We built it to about a third of the valuation of that. We did it in a 6-year period. It wasn't, it's extremely difficult to grow that fast. You were able to build a 10-figure business. Obviously there's a backstory to that. Let's talk a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, crazy story. And a book I just came out with not too long ago called Upsiders. It talks a little bit about my story, my journey, but more so how I was able to create this financial freedom along with personal freedom. So there's something I called enterprise value, and I didn't really understand it a long time ago. And I could have gotten there easily, instead of 18 years, easily maybe in 8 to 10 years. And I just didn't understand because there was not another Bobby. There was nothing as to resources for me to really understand how to scale and how to pivot. Until I realized it, I was so stuck for so many years, dude, so many years. But then when I understood the magnitude of having a relationship with money, so the objective is to create money, not make money. And I didn't have any clue of that. I was busy making money, almost like all of us on that hamster, on that wheel. And I not only duplicated, selling a company for $1 billion, but I actually did it along the way, even with not much money, investing in real estate that stands strong to maybe a little bit under $800 million in a real estate portfolio. Now, the company I sold, no investors, no bank loans, no nothing, have a story like many others. Many others. And because of this great country called the United States of America, it provided me one thing over and over and over. I was able to start over and over and over, but I learned from these lessons. I was making mistakes after mistakes, but never learning these lessons. So I was the only person when we started, went to 2, went to 3, went to nearly close to 1,000 employees when I sold. Today, that stands strong at 1,800. And as long as you can build a business that is not all about you, the me, I did that drill and I was really good at it, made a lot of money, but never created financial independency. When I started duplicating myself and starting to surround myself with superior skill sets, I can tell you, man, my life took off completely. Everything I'm attached to seems to take off because I understand the power of creating money. This compound effect that most people don't really understand. They'll probably nod their head, say, yeah, Bobby, I get it. But there's something that's staggering, dude. And I don't know about you if you know about it. You go to Google, a penny a day compounded for 30 days. A lousy penny that you, I, many take for granted. In 30 days, it compounds over $5 million.
It's crazy.
I just can't stop thinking about that. When I understood that many years ago, having that relationship with money, I got so darn motivated with a concept called stack and rack. I do believe cash is not trash. Without cash, you can't buy anything. Without cash, you can't start a business. Without cash, you can't expand a business. Without cash, you can't hire these awesome people.
Love it. Love it. So in 2001, when you started this journey of your business, how old were you?
So I started this business when I was a waiter. I was waiting
Okay.
tables at the Rusty Pelican in Key Biscayne at night. During the day, my brother, I had a day job selling memberships at the Better Business Bureau. I started
Oh,
this, yeah, man, I started this business, believe it or not, with $1,700 that was not my money, it was my mother-in-law's money. She's no longer here. She passed some years ago. I burned a lot of bridges. I didn't understand the value of transparency, and you and I talked briefly about that before the podcast.
yeah.
And this amazing lady, back in the day, all these amazing ladies had everything in their bra, and she was from Cuba. Her keychain of 100 doors, her beeper, and all the money the family had. And this was and me and my wife have been married 33 years now. She handed me and she said something in Spanish, "Mira," means here. She gave me just about what I needed to buy this package for $1,700. It was equipment, leasing, and finance, how to become a lease and finance broker. And we took that 1,700, my wife and I, marched down the field, learning it our way, being self-taught by awful mistakes. Matter of fact, so many mistakes, I almost lost my marriage. I almost lost everything in my life over and over. $1,700, man, took us to sell it for $1 billion on our terms. And we not only
So
did
so
that, we did
how
it even. Yep.
so how old were you when you took this leap? You're waiting tables, you're selling Better Business Bureau
Yeah.
memberships, which by the
This
way,
was
I hate the Better Business Bureau, but keep going. Uh,
yeah, yeah. No, I got you. I got you. I understand your frustration. I know. Um, I was 23, 24 years old, waiting on tables again. I was a big flash dancer. I was a show off. I needed the need to show you I was successful. I would wear the fake Rolexes, and that grew to real Rolexes. And I was just so caught up in the flash dance. I would say that was 23 years. I'm 56 years old. I got in the space called life, started activating my life, and I started the business about 5 years before 2021. I met somebody in Martha's Vineyard in 21 that took it to a whole different level. I understand the power of people skills. So I started this industry when I was about 23 years old. I formally formed the company in 2021 or 2020. Yeah,
2001.
2001.
Yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
dude.
yeah. You're good. You're good. So you formed in 2001. So you mentioned a few different things. You said you met some people that kind of helped you scale. Like what was that transition? Like what changed in your
So I
business?
was a broker. I was basically a money broker. I would
Okay.
put you as a business owner that needed a forklift, needed an
Right.
x-ray machine, and you wanted to finance or lease it. I will find a lender to provide the money. In exchange, that lender would pay me a commission. So I started becoming really good in the healthcare space because a lot of doctors they don't like to wait in line. So I was a real big broker in the Southeast region, just a money broker in equipment, and I would just get paid on a
Interesting.
commission. Very good at it, but it came to the point where I was just a broker. I was just starting to really make a quarter of $1 million a year, 150. I maxed out like maybe $300,000. I was invited to a conference in Martha's Vineyard to celebrate a lot of awards, this and that for brokers. And I met an investment banker because obviously I believe when you go to these conferences and the networks, I work these conferences. I just don't show up with my buddies and hang out and
Right.
drink all night. I did that dance a long time ago, got nowhere. Wind up meeting an individual. I talked to this individual and I explained to him some change that was going on in the market. And he said, "Bobby, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, in the medical space, there's some issues. GE, Siemens, they're starting to offer free finance and free 0% interest to move more product. And it's a threat to me and a threat to you that they don't need our financing no more." Well, he didn't
Right.
really buy into it because I told him there is something that they're telling me they want. These doctors want cash, unsecured working capital because their insurance reimbursements were just taking its time to get here. And when they do arrive, instead of being 76,000, they're 19,000 bucks and putting them in a cash flow squeeze. And I keep asking these doctors, well, what else do you need if I can't give you the equipment? Well, I need cash. I need cash. He said, Bobby, man, I get it, but all my stuff is securitized by equipment, not unsecured. And I said, you
Right.
don't understand, man. These credit scores are 740. They're making about $300,000 adjusted gross income. They have about $2 million net worth. They've been licensed gastroenterologists, OBGYNs for 11 years. And it's the same concept. I get it, but I can't do it. And he goes, by the way, really? 18% they'll buy that? I said, yes. No one's doing it. Man, I would love to help you. I can't. I followed up, followed up, followed up. At about a
Wait, so
month,
you're
month
you're
and a half.
telling me you're telling me that these doctors were willing to pay 18% for cash? Unsecured cash? Is that what you're
Yeah, and
saying?
this is way back in the day. We were the very first fintechs. So I want you to think about this, and I want you to be open-minded.
All
Federal
right.
Express, FastPass, and Disney, all these things that you and I pay for today because we don't want to stand in line, we pay a premium to get it now. I
Absolutely.
felt that there was a huge need with these doctors that they were willing to buy a premium if I can get my money right now. But they had
Right.
to really be a good credit. So I started, asking these doctors, what else do you need? They kept saying this cash, this cash. And these banks took too long. They didn't want to go in the lobby at Bank of America. They don't have time for it. So finally, long story short, couple months down the road, he goes, send me a deal. He just told me to do that, just get him off so I can get off his back. I sent him the deal. He calls back. He goes, Bobby, man, you're telling me this guy will take 18%? I said, all day, every day.
Jeez.
He goes, okay, let me see what I can do. I never heard from him for about a month, followed up. Finally, I was so persistent that he finally went to one of his institutions and they said they'll buy the deal. That one deal turned into billions, and I'm talking about billions of dollars in volume. We became a
Wow.
lender about 2 years after that. Um, Today, that company produces over $200 million net income. It produced over $100 million in net income when I exited. Um,
Wow.
there's a niche, and what happened was the traditional route, as you know, you're an entrepreneur. You sold these businesses because other people don't recognize a void. That was cheap money. 18%, 15% is cheap money if you get it now because what you're going to do with the money matters. I picked
Absolutely.
up on it. We rode that wave, my brother, for so many years. We became a fintech way before Lending Club, Prosper, all these Godzillas came aboard. We hit it way before when no one was looking at it. And I talk heavily about my book. When you're not distracted, you can see so much of what the market friggin' wants.
Love that. Love that. Man, that the fact that you recognize that just so early. This was all in 2001 is kind of when you got that original idea that
It
to
was
bring
like
this to
2
the
years
market.
before I saw the trend going differently for me. It was threading my
Right.
income. And I'm grateful that I looked at that as a job, not an opportunity, because I was all paranoid. Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna make a couple $100,000 more. I'm gonna have to go back to wait on tables. So I was urgently asking my customers, what else can I help you with? And they kept talking about this working capital, working capital. And they were just telling me what they wanted. The market said, impossible. We don't have a program on security. You out of your mind? I didn't stop. I kept knocking on the doors.
That's so awesome. I mean, yeah, you were really a pioneer in the space, like you said, right before all these other fintech companies and whatnot. So I love that.
And
Love that.
it's probably the leader in the fintech space today. BHG
Re-
dominates the market.
so of the medical world is what you're saying. That's awesome.
Medical and
Or
general business.
general. You guys do general business, everything.
Oh,
Wow.
dude, we scaled it with most institutions today, they only can do 2, 3-year terms. We do
Yeah.
12-year terms. I keep talking about it
Okay.
like if it's my company, I'm a BHEer for life. So,
Right.
it's tattooed on my heart, dude.
So did you when you exited, you ended up selling to a private equity company? Who did you sell off to, or was it a strategic buyer? Take it public? What did you do there?
So check this out, and it's crazy. So here I am making some coin, making some money.
Yep.
And then I got distracted. I started paying attention to the flash dancers. They were all into real estate. They were doing this and that. And I had this little company that was doing good, providing some incredible outcomes in my life, my family's life. I then wanted to get into the real estate game like everyone else, not knowing what to do or how to do it. I went ahead and I signed personally for these loans. We also put the corporate guarantee of the company that we sold, by the way.
Oh,
We went
geez.
out and we bought a bunch of apartment buildings thinking that we're going to kick everyone out, do condo conversions because everybody else was doing it in South Florida and around the country. Well, it
What
didn't
year was
work out.
this?
We didn't even know what we were doing.
What year
We
was this?
almost filed. This was uh in '04, '05, at the height of the market.
And
We
at
went
what
out.
at this point, what kind of money are you generating as a business? Because obviously you were 100 million when you exited, but at this point, how much kind of cash were you making?
I was definitely making personally, I don't know, 3 million bucks, 2 million bucks.
Right. So
Company
you, I
was
mean, you felt
healthy,
like you were
stacking
on
the
top.
balance sheet.
You felt
Yeah.
you were on top of the world, but got
Yes, sir.
distracted. Went to this real estate. Okay, so pick up the story
Yep.
from there.
Got totally
Keep going.
distracted, started giving energy and focus outside my business. And unfortunately, what happens when you give energy and you focus on something, it starts growing. This thing started growing my interest of real estate. Everybody was doing it. Went in, bought a bunch of stuff. I had no clue. I bought it high, put the wrong type of debt, did all this garbage, got myself in jams with these banks. Now I'm in trouble. Now I'm talking to bankruptcy attorneys. Now I'm deciding which attorney we're going to go with. Out of frustration and depression, I ran back to the business because I didn't want to confront this fire. I go back to the business, attacking it just so I can ignore this. As we're attacking this, the business starts growing more than ever because, again, what you give energy and what you focus on, guys, what happens? Only one thing guarantees to happen. It grows. I adjusted without knowing. I got my focus off of this crap, started focusing on this beautiful company that I never really understood what it could do. Start diving into the crap, starts growing to the point where, my gosh, we're not working out nothing with the banks. We're actually starting to pay them off. This stuff is going away. Check this out. Couple years later, it goes away. We put it out maybe 3 years later. I'm exaggerating. Maybe 3 years later, the thing goes away. This because of this company. Just attacking the company. Couple years thereafter, a knock on the door. Hey, we want to give you all cash 30% based on $250 million valuation. And we want to close right now. Yes, why not? For sure. Well, guess what? It closed within 90 days, give or take. 75 million wired, all cash. We all looked at
Man.
ourselves like, wow, what idiot would do this? Like, well, guess what, man? It's still my best friend today, google.com. You do an investigation, and that's where my life really took off to a whole different level. I understood multiples. I understood valuations. I understood the power of distractions. I looked at myself. I said, my gosh, we thought we hit a home run. They stole the freaking company.
What
Well, they had a
multiple did
first right
they?
refusal.
What multiple did they
Institution,
pay you?
a 10 multiple, give or
10
take. At that
multiple.
time, about a
Right.
nine. A major institution. They were about maybe 14 billion at that time. They're about 40 billion today.
Yeah.
Um, and they're based out of Nashville. So, anyways, we say yes to it. It closes. We found out what a bunch of ding dongs. The power of what you don't know. So, guess what? They had their first right refusal, meaning that, hey, guys, you want anything more off the table? We would love to take more. We have the first right refusal.
Oh, geez.
Well, 11 months, not a year. So obsessed. We were focusing on our business here, but the market is focused here. They see us here, but they see the value proposition here, and we didn't connect those dots. 11 months later, not even a year, we go back. Hey, we still own and control 70%, but we want to take off 19% more. And we still want to now own and control 51%. We just want to take more chips off.
Right.
Awesome. We are ready to rock and roll. But hold on, but it's not 250. It's 600 million. You're out of your mind. I totally understand your frustrations. I get it. Fast forward, it closes maybe 4 months, not 3 months, all cash for 19% based on
With the
600
same
million.
group.
Now we're same group, dude. Now we're Now we understand a whole different level that we never understood because we were so friggin' distracted. We didn't understand what we have. Like so many business owners out there, they treat their company and their business like a friggin' job, like I did, and not an opportunity. Few years later, me and my wife, we have grandchildren. I started wanting to fly free, do other things in life. I said, well, I'm going to take the remaining chips off. Went to, this time we went to a process, talked to all the big institutions. They all looked at the book from KKR to Aries, you name it, Apollo. They were all involved, indications, 1.617 billion, 1.5 billion. My wife and I have 33 years now. We settled at a billion because we wanted it on our terms, no carve outs, no clawbacks. Um,
No
this is somebody you're
earnouts.
looking at, my brother, that's a waiter. I failed at the third grade in public system in Miami. No one fails at the third grade. So that means I didn't have much brains because at the third grade in public system, that's an automatic pass. Well, they failed me. And then I only got to the ninth grade. Back then was junior high. I don't have more than a ninth grade education. I am the prime example of what this country represents, man. It allowed me to make awful mistakes in life. It allowed me to continue being a repeater of those mistakes. And then it allowed me, Bobby, are you ready this time? The gates are always there, man. And since
So
then,
awesome.
man, me and my wife have created financial freedom in so many different areas. That real estate story, when we went back in 2011. Now I know what I'm doing. I said, never again, I will be a speculator buyer. I am a long-term, I want to create financial wealth. That portfolio throughout the years since 2011, we've been building this portfolio, my wife and I, Section 8 housing, one at a time. Now we're developers. It gives me, my wife, every month, just she and I, $500,000 a month, besides what's given to my family, my kids, my grandchildren. That's
Amazing.
just one stream of income. I'm not here to brag. I am here to tell you the power of non-refundable minutes. How you invest them matters. If you decide to give them away, burn them matters. And the focus, man, I believe there's two things comes with focus, the type of focus. There's two cousins. One is called desperation. The other one is called urgency. They're related, but they behave different. They give you two different outcomes. I practiced desperation so much in my life. I was so disappointed. When I received clarity in my life from not being distracted, I had effective urgency. Very powerful.
I love that. I love that. I love the saying that goes along with what you're talking about, that you hit oil by digging one hole a thousand feet deep, not 1,000 holes 1 feet deep, right? Because I mean, it's
Yep.
so easy as entrepreneurs. I'm sure you're this way as I am. We have so many ideas, so many shiny objects. We have so many different things going on, and we know that we can go make money a billion different ways. And like one of the hardest things I think to do as an entrepreneur is learn how to focus in and just get, just dig deep in the boring, do the boring work, do the things day in, day out, double down on our efforts to learn, continue.
Yep.
My buddy Alex Ramosi, he talks about like the way that you succeed is time invested into one thing. It's not
Yep.
invested into so many different things. And so dude, I love that principle. So you talk about the opportunity that the U.S. has given you from the standpoint of you had a low education level, all these different things. I'd love to hear what are your thoughts on the current education system, the college system or whatnot. What
It's
give me a little
horrible.
bit of that.
It's a disgrace. It's disgusting. And I say that not because I didn't. It's just horrible. Let's put it this way. I've hired thousands of people, ultimately wind up working with me, call it 800 people. I've hired people from the highest level of education. I am so disappointed when they come to the table, what they're teaching them there. They have learned more being in business with, I hate to say this, man, so I'm going to try to say it nicely. A students wind up working for the C students for some reason, at least in my world. And I think
Absolutely.
sometimes this education is not teaching them a friggin' thing. They come in for marketing. They don't even know how to market. They don't know what to market. They have no clue how to move the needle. They don't know what a balance sheet is. They don't know what a P&L is. They have no clue other than, hey, dude, I have Stanford on me. That's great. But what else did they teach you? Because what you have right now, you're not giving me no value. They wind up being in sales. I love sales. I think everything sales. I'm selling my wife. She's selling me. I'm selling that dude across the lane in the stop sign. Let me get over. My grandkids are selling me. I'm selling them on something. Form of
Amen.
communication is everything. And I find the education, man, they're suing everyone out there. And this government should be a class action suit of the education system, charging people
Absolutely.
$300,000, $500,000 for what?
It is absolutely mind-boggling. I love to stir the pot when it comes to this. I'm a big believer in education, but just not in the traditional sense, right? Like to your exact point, our college system is failing us, right? They're coming out with undereducated, highly leveraged in debt, no experience. The opportunity cost that they've missed from all these years invested into school is absolutely insane. Speaking of which, man, I really after the podcast, I'd love to share with you. I have a whole idea to totally revamp the education system that I'm going to be dumping a lot of money into. So, yeah, man,
Awesome.
I
And
love
you know what? You
I
know what
love
stinks
taking.
too is us parents. We tell our kids to duplicate exactly what we did, and we expect a different outcome. And generations are just duplicating. And I tell parents, man, and I don't hold back. Stop telling your kids to go to school. My mother, dude, when I left school, you know what my mother told me? And we lived on Section 8. Before I finished telling her I was going to leave, and the school system had a problem in junior high with it, she pushed me to go for it. The
Really?
reason I'm here today is because my mother didn't tell me, no, stay in school, do this, get a college, and all that. I see so many parents forcing their kids to get a college degree. For what? Do you understand what you're telling them? I don't get it, man. And then parents, of course, they love their children, but you're broke, you're struggling, you went to college, and you're telling your kids to do the exact same. Matter of fact, you're telling them to go to the exact same college, studying the exact same degree, and you're complaining that you're making $300,000 a year and you don't have enough to go on vacation, but you're telling them to choose your path. Why don't you tell them do everything opposite than I did, man? Take risk.
Right, right. And the crazy thing is we expect these kids to have it all figured out of their career path and their choice that they're going to go without ever even like experiencing the career. It's mind boggling to me that we're like, hey, go take $200,000 in debt for something that you've literally never even spent an hour in the field, right? And,
Incredible.
and so like I'm such a big believer, like go get experience, figure out what you're good at, what value you can bring to the world. And then if it requires a certain degree or whatnot, and it makes sense and you absolutely love it, then sure, go to college, become a doctor, go these do things. But like I think probably the saddest thing in the world is a musician that is stuck cleaning teeth every
Yeah.
single day,
Yeah.
right? Or
Yeah.
or an accountant that loves numbers, right?
Yep.
And is stuck doing something completely opposite. And they are just so
Yep.
stuck because they're so invested. There's
Yep.
no way to like, and they'll let everybody around them down because they chose this path when they're 18 years old. It's freaking nuts.
It is. It is so damaging, and it's causing so much depression where people are being affected later in life. And Gary Vee says it best. I was in Puerto Rico at a conference he was speaking at, and I took time to listen to him. And he said something that just it's powerful. When you visit a nursing home, 85, 90-year-old people, you walk out, the only thing you will hear, that one word, is regret. Should have, could
Absolutely.
have, would have. So much
Oh yeah.
regret. I keep going back to my great country. This country allowed Bobby and Sophia Castro to have the most awful, ugliest credit, not one time, many times, allowed us to start over, paid our taxes late because we didn't have no money, paid our bills late, failed walk on obligations, have all this stuff, and allowed me, Bobby, come back in, man. It's okay. And think about if you have mental, physical health, what is your freaking excuse, man? You're around a supporting team that is supporting and justifying why you shouldn't go for it. In 2023, with this freaking internet and this explosive world we live in, how are you struggling?
It's
How are
wild.
you not
There's so
meeting
much
new people?
opportunity. So much opportunity that young kids, and we're just saying, "Hey, go and do the same box that the people did in the 1950s and 1960s," right? When you have this opportunity to be a YouTuber, to be a
I
you
mean,
can do literally there's so many ways to buy and resell things, be in the sales world. Oh, dude, it like
I mean a 19-year-old. Since I've been on social media when I sold the company, I mean a 19-year-old, 20-year-olds are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. I mean, millions a year. And then I look at this way and I'm seeing a 25-year-old, 35-year-old completely stuck by choice and completely addicted like crack cocaine of their complaints. Because I do
well, I
believe
think
patterns lead to routines, routines lead to habits. You allow those habits to go on, man, to unwind them is very hard.
And I think you brought up in a very important word. You said choice. It's interesting because a lot of times when you're 30, 40, whatever, and you're stuck, you feel like you don't have
Yeah.
a choice, right? And you don't realize that the choices that you've made, right? All the pattern of your choices is what got you to the point. And it's not until you come to that realization that like I'm here because of me.
Yep.
I'm not a victim, right? It's not because of my skin color. It's not because of the way
Yep.
I was raised. It was not because of this, that, or the other. I literally made choices that have compounded to this day. And because of it, I have a decision and choice to make to change that. Right. And like so many
Absolutely.
people just feel stuck and they're like, I have no choice. I'm a victim. I have to forever continue down this path. I have all these people I got to please. My mom thinks I got to stay in this career, whatever it is, man. And it really is the saddest thing.
It really it's horrible, man. And there's one thing I always say, and I repeat it so much, I feel like a parrot, but I can't help it. You, I, many others, everybody, and I'll talk about me for a second. I am one out of 8 billion people on the planet. There's only going to be one type of Bobby ever. Another one will not be born ever. When I'm somewhere else,
Absolutely.
I'm no longer here, or I'm here right now. There's not. I have things that others will never ever have. And all these other individuals we've been talking about are blocking the full potential of this amazing individual they have within themselves. And they're simply living life like a friggin' job. It's unbelievable. I see my parents do it. I see my family. I come from a big, chaotic, passionate family, and we've been broke. We've been challenged with depression, suicide, drug use, you name it. We have it like many millions of other families.
Right.
If somehow, some way we figured it out, and this wasn't in the internet stage. Right now, this is like a layup for people. How are you not winning in life with all this technology? The world's flat. We are now communicating. I am establishing relationships by the day of incredible people, but I'm activating my life. I am going after it. I'm leaning into life. I am not waiting for Amazon to deliver the friggin' thing. They will never deliver me success.
I love that. I love that, man. And the interesting thing, like I know listeners that are listening to this, are like, well, I guess I got to go start my own business, right? You don't even have to. You don't only have to own your own business, but there's so much opportunity as an entrepreneur, right?
Yep.
Like
Yep.
working.
Absolutely.
One of the things Grant Cardone shared on my podcast, which I thought was genius. I was like, hey, what advice do you have for a kid that's starting out, thinking about starting his own business? And he's like, don't. He's like, there are so many successful entrepreneurs out there that are just no longer wanting to build their empire. Go team up with them and figure out how you can get a piece
Right.
of that action being an entrepreneur.
He's
Right. Like I think
listen, Grant's 100% right. He's 100% right. When I sold the company, guess what, my brother?
what's
Many
that?
people became millionaires in their bank. Millions of dollars were transferred in their account. They helped us build this thing. They became financially free. Grant is 100% right. There's no excuse.
Dude, I love that. So I'm a big believer in what you just expressed. So in building my business, I've never been one to just want it all, right? I've incentivized and brought on employees and tied them into long-term incentive plans and those type of things. And yeah, when we did our transactions, yeah, there was many multi-millionaires actually made in our transaction, which for me was like the best experience of my life.
Yeah.
Like
Great feeling.
because you made all these promises along
Yeah.
the
Yep.
way, right? And you be able to go and fulfill and win together as a team, dude. There's nothing
Yep.
better. So I want you to tell me more about that. Like, how was that? making millionaires and putting millions of dollars into other people's bank accounts? Like, walk me through that.
Out of the 3 wire transfers that I illustrated earlier on our podcast here, to this day, there's 2 wow wow moments for me. One was my first job at Pasquale's. I was 14 years old on my takeout. It was my very first job. Um, I'll never ever get that feeling out of my I just feel so passionate about that feeling. The second one is when I made people multimillionaires. To that was more fulfilling for me versus the millions in my bank because integrity and transparency, these folks, it wasn't a Bobby Castro show. There's many people behind the scenes and on the front lines. Without them, I don't have my story. For me to look them in the eye and to friggin' hug them and thank them, we did it. We got here. I can't tell you, made me proud, man. It made me feel really good of the integrity. I started really understanding that each of us can impact each of us negatively or positively. I choose to really live a positive life, to really be with transparency, represent things of truth. I wasn't about that many years back. I didn't understand that, including my marriage, including so many other ways that I practice life. When I started understanding the power of integrity, what you represent, the power of legacy, every decision I was making was based on my legacy of what I want to leave to my family. That wasn't always the case. The Bobby you're seeing today was not the Bobby then, nor the Bobby of yesterday. I continue peeling away a better version of myself, and it feels so freaking good living up to obligations, impacting families. Think about it, man. That's all financially free.
So awesome.
So Grant is right. You don't, what is your excuse? You don't have the money to start your own business? Team up with a Bobby, team up with a Grant, team up with somebody and prove to them you want it as much as they want it because they need you, man.
Yeah,
You can't scale
and the
without
reality,
others.
and the reality, right? There's not the Bobbies and the Chris's and the Grants. Not everybody's a Bobby, Chris, or a Grant, right? Like, not everyone's
Yep.
a vocal leader, enthusiastic visionary, right? That's going and pushing it, and that's fine. You don't have to be that, right? The
That's right.
Steve Wozniaks of the world, like
Yep.
those guys are big value creators. You just got to understand, like, what value do you bring the most to the world, and just hone in on that and surround yourself
Incredible.
with people that fill out your weaknesses, right? Like
And
that.
check this out. I want to, and I just to prove that point, it gets me, you just reminded me of something. There was an intern back then, an intern. This intern wound up becoming financially free. This intern years later rode the wave with us, became the CFO of the company. He graduated from Colgate, really shy, the biggest introvert to this day I've ever met.
That's
He has
wild.
impacted his life, his generation from teaming up with other like-minded individuals that have different strengths than him. He has different strengths than they do. Think about when you match the weaknesses and strengths of each other, only one way, man, we win.
I love it. I love it. You know, when I think about people that team up and founders, it actually brings up a fun story. Do you know who Ronald Wayne is?
No,
You ever heard of
I'm
Ronald
bad with
Wayne?
names.
Oh
Ru
man, you've heard of Steve Wozniak?
Yes, yes,
Yes, of course, of
from
course.
Apple.
Yep, from Apple. So here's the crazy thing: there are a lot of people don't realize this. There were 3 founders of Apple. Okay, who are they? They've got Steve Jobs, Wozniak, and there was Ronald Wayne. Okay,
Wow.
a lot of people don't realize this because Ronald Wayne was a guy that ended up not realizing his calling in life, that he was just there to support this visionary of Steve Jobs, and he bailed out. I think year number 2 in the business. I think he sold off his shares. It was like for $900, right? And this guy, the amount of shares that he would own would have made him like hundreds of millions and billions
Wow,
of
dude.
dollars, right? Like just crazy amount of money, but he didn't buy into the vision. And the reason why you don't know who Ronald Wayne is just for that, right? Like he wasn't a guy that
Wow.
was willing to latch on and realize what his calling in life. And the sad part about the whole thing, the guy lives in a single wide trailer today in Pahrump, Nevada, which is like the armpit of the US. It's like one of
Wow, man.
dude,
Are you
it is
serious?
wild, wild, wild. and he only shows up occasionally when it's crazy. But
I've never
man,
heard of that. That you just blew my mind. That's just a prime example. Look at that, man.
yeah,
Cost
dude,
of
there's
missed opportunity.
so many so many stories out there of like great founders and missed opportunity founders, right? Like so dude, I appreciate you sharing your story. I think you have so much value. So you're obviously a family man, you have grandkids, so tell us a little bit about your family. Love to hear about that.
So Sophie and I, we've been married 33 years. We have two children. Priscilla, who's 32 years old. She's married to an awesome dude for about 10 years, Eddie. They have two children, our grandchildren, our legacy. Ocean, who's 7, Oakley, who's 5. Our son, Brandon, who's 27, July 11th, he's getting married this month,
Let's
June
go.
24th, to an incredible individual, Jen. And we're excited about now having her part of the family. We're very dialed in together. I don't have a lot of friends. Legacy is very important for me, Chris, where I want to break a pattern in my family. My family's had a lot of struggles, generations and generations. And I only can control what I do forward as a leader. My grandchildren, my children, I care more about what they witness in me versus what they hear, because these kids, they're watching and they watch how I carry myself, how I treat people with kindness, how I scale. I'm always activated. I'm always creating. I don't do drugs a lot. I'm high with energy. People might think I do coke, speed, ecstasy, whatever the calling out there. I do life, man. I'm so excited about life that I can't wait to wake up in the morning.
That's so awesome. So obviously you're set financially for the rest of your life and your children's lives and everything else. What drives you every single day outside? So obviously your family. What else? What else is pushing and motivating Bobby to jump out of bed in the morning?
Just creating, make an impact. So we built that business. We spent a lot of time with human capital. So I had a sales team. It was every day a sales meeting, all day, every day. The power of impact, and I want to show my children. My mission now is my legacy. I want to have a legacy. I have PMA's trademark, positive mental attitude. I believe you don't have to be a jerk or arrogant in life to create financial freedom and personal freedom. I tried it. It didn't work for me. That ego is not your amigo. It definitely didn't work for me. Kindness got me a lot of yeses. I became a magnet for opportunities. I am rich in relationships. I am very cautious on who I bring in my ecosystem. My passion is just really to show my kids and my grandchildren how you live a meaningful, happy, healthy life. How to not how to have a relationship with money differently than most. It's creating money, it's not making money. Do not get caught up in that money flare. I did it. It was not a good feeling. I talk a lot about flash dancing here. Man, I just like being a cool person, give a lot of good vibes. I'm a hugger, man. I love life. I'm 56 years old. I feel like I'm 17.
Love that.
I have my own family office with my kids. We have all these investments. My grandchildren are in the office. I mean, it's awesome.
So what does a day in the life of Bobby look like right now?
I get up about maybe 10 minutes before 5 o'clock. I'm activated. My personal trainer in the morning at my house. I get massages every day to really get my body relaxed. I am a very intense reader, all about personal development. I don't think you can ever max out to bring your better version. There's no ceilings in life.
What are you reading
I'm
right
an
now?
introvert.
What are you reading right
I'm
now,
reading
Bobby?
my book right I'm rereading my book right now because I'm doing a part 2 of it, a version of part
Nice.
2. A lot of people reached out to me to really understand now the next step. There was actually a few good people there, man, that really understood this book. If you read it, it's not a bunch of Donkey Kong. This stuff is proven, man. You're looking at a dude that filed tax returns, making $25 million a year. I paid taxes, 20 million, 15 million a year, sold a company for a billion, created a $800 million real estate portfolio with no investors. This is a serious book. This is not just a storyteller here, man. This is real. So I got the attention to a few people because my intention, Chris, is not to touch the world, man. I know there's Bobbies out there. I know there's recovering people that are just challenged. I've speaking to a lot of people recently that have been challenged with drugs, alcohol. And I simply tell them, man, activate life, get obsessed about doing life something differently. So I don't know. That's kind of weird. God's just gone into my life maybe 6 months ago. Never religious. I believe in good energy. My family, they do believe in God. I was at an event in Cabo, Mexico, speaking, and I accepted God in my life. That's a new journey. I don't know how that's going to roll, other than I'm just figuring
Good for
out.
you,
So
man.
I'm able to pray now. I feel good. Um, and
It's awesome.
yeah,
So
so I'm rereading my book.
you work out every morning, you read. Right now you're reading your book, and then what else is part of your day?
We manage our portfolio, our investments. We do a lot of boating, so we travel a lot. Right now, my son's getting into the financial industry like the old man did, so I'm helping
Nice.
him build his company. My son-in-law is really passionate about real estate. We have Dr. Orlando and his team from Legacy Capitals. We have a 100-year legacy plan, which is it's a heavy lift. So we have a 100-year legacy plan on how our family's going to look 100 years from now. A
Love
lot
that.
of folks are involved on the backside to help us. That's a heavy lift by getting a policy in place on how we choose to practice life, what we do with our money, what we don't do with our money, constantly value with a lot of charities. Um, just creating, man, just creating a better life, but more so how you measure and gauge that, at least for me, Chris, is how I feel inside. I feel good, man. I feel
I
good, the
love
Bobby I am today.
I love the word create. It's I firmly believe that that is the reason we exist, is to
Yeah.
create. In fact, I have never ever met somebody that suffers from depression or anxiety that is actively creating,
Yeah.
right?
Nope.
Like
They're stuck.
never, like it's impossible. And
Yeah.
like we were meant to be creators. Like that's what
Yeah.
God has us here to do, right? To produce, create value, and creation takes so much more time and energy than destruction, right? Like a freaking wrecking ball can come through and
You're right.
destroy a
That's
beautiful
right.
building that took years and years to build and can be destroyed in a day. And we're taught to be destroyers, right? Like this negative and like,
Yep.
and if we could just shift to that creation. I love that you so much focus on that word, because I am a big believer
Yeah,
in creation.
innovation, I'm coaching. I decided to coach 10 business owners, only 10 was I'm busy. I coach them one-on-one, and the whole backdrop of my method, constantly creating this company you have. You cannot be still. You can't be stuck. You got to be innovative. You got to be somewhat disruptive. Curiosity is the magic of what you're going to create, and it's fun, man. I'm having a good time. Took me a while though. When I did sell, I hired a very famous life coach that helped the Amway company, or the family that formed Amway. Took me about 13 months to come up for air. I didn't think it was gonna be a hard transition. It was, so I fell
So
in a little.
talk about that real quick. Was it an identity
Yep.
crisis? Like what were you going through over those
No,
13 months?
no, not identity. I let go of that whole ego crap, me, I, many years prior to that. It was about that creating activity I talk about. Every day I was able to create, brainstorm, come up with new things, execute on things, create something that was just on paper to something that's just generating $100 million now this month. And when I left, I thought I was going to do this, do that, get on my boat, jump on the plane, do all that stuff that we talk about. And I had no idea of this Bobby that have just formed a good discipline habit. It took me a while to unwind that, because you go from 100 miles per hour driving a really good Formula One race, and now you're doing golf carts. So it took me a while, but I'm grateful that I have a great wife. We did it together. I went to Africa for 2 months. I went to Rwanda. I went to a school that we built in South Africa. We went to Asia. I hired a monk for almost a month. I went on this whole journey, and I'm grateful that I have a great partner that allowed me to grow into this new chapter in our book. So that was awesome.
That's so interesting. It, you know, what you went through right there, the vast majority of the world will never have an opportunity to go through that, right? I'm going through a similar type thing right now, right? Like where it's like you've created so much value as you talk about, right? And you have this religious structure and
Yep.
work ethic and everything. And now it's like, how do I apply that into a whole new chapter in my life? And it's there's first world problems, and then there's like 1% of 1% first world problems,
Yep.
and that's literally what you went through. And but I think it's so unique to like hear about it, because these things aren't shared, and you don't get it, like the peer into the life of the 1% of the 1%. And so thank you for sharing that. And like the and dude, how did you feel doing this transition? Were there times of depression? Were there times of
Yeah, I'm
tell
not
tell
gonna
me about
lie,
that?
there was, and then I I got a hold of a group, that's related to Richard Branson. Good dude, by the way. Spent some time with him. Uh, he and I may have a different view on politics, but we definitely vibe together on life. I started surrounding myself with some people, some significant people that did some incredible things around the world that helped me, Chris, a lot because they've done it a few times over. And then I was grateful enough for Bobby to reach out and find these other mentors in a different journey, in a different chapter in my life, helped me tremendously. And I'm one of 5 founding members now of R360. So there are about 102 members around the world. You got to have verifiable $100 million net worth. You got to be a cool individual. You got to be vetted out. We just came out on I think it was either Wall Street Journal or one of those papers. 2 individuals were turned down, one who had a $7 billion net worth, one for $22 billion net worth. Can't say the names. We turned them down because it's somebody that we don't want to be around. We're looking for good energy. We've all hit the bell. We all rang the bell. Everyone has a lot of money. It's more than money because all along
Right.
I was chasing money. And when I stopped chasing the money, Chris, guess what happened, dude? The money came. It's kind of
That's
crazy.
right.
I was
It is.
chasing the money, and it goes
That's
back to
wild.
I was focused on making money, not creating money. And as soon as I stopped focusing on the money, I created enterprise value and financial freedom showed up at the door in an unbelievable way. I finally figured out how to get off the hamster wheel. And that's what everybody wants. You want to do it quicker than later. You don't have to no reason you have to wait for the 20-year journey I did because you have this beautiful internet. You have all these mentors. You have all these podcasts like yours, Chris. You have all these resources and all this information that it's almost hard to miss. The only thing you're missing is how you're investing your time correctly.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love that, and I love that you're a founding member of that group. Sounds like a freaking
Yeah,
remarkable,
R36, great.
remarkable group.
Incredible, just incredible. So, incredible people where you think my story and your story is pretty cool. Whew, you'll be blown away. Some amazing people that have
Yeah,
impacted millions of lives.
dude. If you could do it all over again, Bobby, what would you do different?
I'm grateful for my mistakes because without these awful, dark mistakes, I don't know if I'll be here today with my story. I don't know if I will. I had a real bad ego, man. I was really about the shiny objects. If I had to do it again, and if some advice to another Bobby who's 23 years old, 19 years old, whatever the case is, be patient. You can still be urgent, but if you have clarity, man, you could do some incredible things in your life. Do not be impatient, being desperate, because you're going to slow down the process. You're going to find ways to give up and never start. I was very desperate in life. I didn't understand how to navigate through life. You can do it as quicker. You could do it in 5 years. But if you focus on some clarity, and I talk heavily about that in my book, I wish I had the clarity. But then on the other side of the coin, Chris, I'm so grateful for those dark, awful chapters in my
Absolutely.
life because without them, I would not have the lessons. But that doesn't mean that has to be for somebody else because you're listening to me and you to tell others, don't do it this way, do it that way. And if you just can trust that a little bit and not be suspicious about it, because I don't want nothing from you, no, not selling you a package. I don't want nothing. Just you may want to go this way. I wasn't that person. I would ignore that. No, that's too long. I want to go that way.
Absolutely, and I'm sure
Did it
you go
wrong.
over some of those dark lessons that in your book, right?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure you share
Yes.
some of
Oh,
those stories.
big time, dude. Yeah. Big
Awesome.
time.
Yeah, so definitely encourage all the listeners to snag a copy. I think you said you can pick it up on Amazon. It's like $15. Is that right?
Yeah, Amazon. It's called Upsiders by Bobby Castro, or you go to upsiders.com/book. And if you don't have the money, man, you're struggling, DM me. You can find me official Bobby Castro on Instagram, and I'll send it to you, man, for free. I want you to win.
Love
I'm
that.
in a spot in my life I want to give, because in order I realize another thing, Chris, in order to receive in life, you got to be willing to give first.
Absolutely. Man, that's such a powerful principle. And you know, a lot of people they fantasize that like once I do X, I will begin to give. That's just not the reality.
Yeah.
Like you have to give at whatever
Yeah.
financial means you're at, right? You have to be a giver no matter
Yep.
if your net worth's $1,000,
Yep.
$1,000,000, 100 million, a billion, right? Like
And
it's
say your
just
net worth is -$1, Chris. Say you have a negative net worth. You're freaking broke. Bobby, what do I give? Value.
absolutely.
Be all about value. There's so much you have to give to the world. You're 1 out of 8 billion. Give value. When I look in relationships, give me value so I can give you value.
Time,
Value does
energy,
not
and
have to be
currency.
currency.
Yep, time,
Yep.
energy, and currency. That's the way that you create value, man. I freaking I love that. So, Bobby, before we wrap this up, man, you got a young guy. He's just starting out, thinking about going and doing his own thing. What advice are you giving to him besides young Bobby Castro, which I love the patience thing. That's freaking awesome. I
Yep.
call that aggressively patient, right? Like
Yep.
what other advice are you giving to someone that's thinking about taking the leap?
Very important now. Each of us have stages in life, and these stages will never, ever max out. There's no ceiling in life. You're at a stage right now, Bobby. Maximize this stage, whatever that looks like. I know it's not a stage you want to be at, but you're there now. Maximize it. Get every bit of it, meaning that you're going to win and dominate this stage. You're going to hit the ceiling before you pivot to the next stage, Bobby. Make sure you look back. You covered everything. Meaning, I'll give you an example. You're working for a company. You're a salesperson. You hate the job. You're looking to open your business. You want to do this or that, and you're all distracted. What about if I tell you, dominate right here at the job you're at? If you're in sales, you know you can make a lot more money if you focus. Again, remember, Bobby, if whatever you focus and give energy to, only one thing happens, it grows. Focus and give energy to the stage where you're at and dominate and win here. If you're making $60,000 a year and you're seeing other people in the same organization making 250, that is giving you a data point that there is room for growth. Maximize it, because if you win and you're the Mac Daddy here, chances are you're going to dominate the second stage. You cannot go to the second stage if you're giving up on this first stage. You almost start my business. I
Absolutely.
get it. You're friggin' broke. You got bills. I just outlined how people became millionaires with me by teaming up with me. At the organization you're at, instead of hating it, start falling in love with the process, hit the ceiling, and then you go to stage two.
Let's go. I love that. That is incredible advice. What about for the entrepreneur that is going through the struggle similar to what you did with the real estate crash and
Yep.
everything
I'm
else,
talking
right?
to them right now. The companies I'm coaching, and some of them are doing $50 million a year, several of them $20 million a year. I see them all at this vulnerable at the same situation. They all want to talk about real estate, a little crypto, a little bit this. And meanwhile, I, from outside in, looking at this beautiful company saying, man, this dude has no clue what he's sitting on. So I try to rifle them back in and let them know of my mistakes, remind them why they hired me, remind them what we're going to do, what we agreed to do, and stay that course.
Double down, baby. I love it. I
That's
love
right.
it. Well,
Invest in your business. You're the best investment.
dude, I love it, man. You've dropped some incredible nuggets, guys. For those that are still with us, I appreciate you listening up until this point. Go ahead and drop in the comments some of the big gold, or in a review, some of the things that you've taken from this incredible podcast, this incredible knowledge share. I mean, it's very rare that you get an opportunity from a guy like Bobby, who's sold a business for over $1 billion, that has created this massive wealth that is generational, and he's doing it with his kids and everything. So take advantage of the nuggets that he is sharing with you and start applying them. I appreciate
Yep.
so much. Thank you so much for your time. Any last words, any last little
Yes.
principle that you could share with us, Mr. Bobby?
Yes, sir. What I would like to ask each and every one of you listening to this podcast, do something, but only think about it after 24 hours. It'll change your life. At least it'll start to let go of three people in your ecosystem. Who are those three people? Who are giving you bad energy? Who's a distraction? Who's helping you support your laziness, your excuses? Let go of three people. Focus on three people. You will see how things starts changing really quick. Influence is very, very powerful. And remember this, misery loves company. Not because they're bad people, man. We just don't know any better. We're just taught what we've seen throughout the years. Let go of three people in your life. You don't have to make a big drama about it. Just fade in the distance. They tell you, hey, what's up, Bobby? I mean, no, dude, I'm so busy, man. I'm a friggin' mess. I'm trying to straighten out my life. I'm so exhausted from being that old Bobby. I'm just so disappointed in myself. It's time for me to rock and roll. I love you, dude. Hang up. If you're willing to do
Love it.
that, then that's a sign that you could be on the right track.
Oh, man, that is gold. I appreciate it. Thank you so much again for your time, Bobby. Until next time.
Thank you, Chris.